What up, you guys? Empress of Duality here. For those of you that are new, you're catching me on an awkward video. Usually have a shirt on, but I just finished meditating outside. I put my lip gloss on, okay? My lip gloss gotta be popping, y'all. I've been working on that. Not too good at it. Anyways, so I just finished doing a interactive meditation is what I would call it. Because I'm really not one of those people that like sits and like that's not me. I can't do it. I mean, I do it sometimes, but the way I like to meditate, I like to keep my eyes open. I like to tune into my senses, my sense of hearing, sense of smell, sense of taste, sense of touch, my energy field, what I can feel in my body. I like to connect with nature and listen. They have lots of secrets, nature does. But anyways, so that's why I'm in this attire. I just finished, it's hot outside. I just finished doing a meditation, but that's not why I'm here. I want to share an experience that I had with you guys because it was interesting. I'm not really like completely sure what it meant, but I did ask Spirit. And I don't know why I want to share it. Maybe I want to share it because there are some of you that maybe have had similar experiences and you don't really know what was happening, or maybe it scared you a little bit. So here's what happened. I had a doctor's appointment today, and first off, let me just start off with this. The way my day began was kind of like sluggish a little bit. So on my drive over to cleaning a friend's house, I spoke with Spirit. I said good morning. I activated my energy and set a few intentions for my work day, for the work day to go with ease and flow and whatever, right? Because the last few days I got sunburned, you guys, and I was looking like a lobster. Like it was bad. It was some of the worst sunburn I've ever had. Like I haven't worn pants in 3 days. Like this is the first time I've had pants on. But so like the last few days have just been like sitting and healing, being with my body, taking care of my body, drinking a ton of water, putting aloe, I have an aloe plant, putting aloe on my skin, taking cool baths. It's just been a lot of nurturing and allowing my body to rejuvenate, to recharge. And like I was a little worried today because I have been my energy's been low. Like healing is draining, man. For you healers out there, you know that once you start like doing healing, it can be kind of taxing to the body, right? So I was a little worried about going to work because I was like, geez, like my energy's been so low. Like I hope that I can kind of jumpstart my energy so that my day isn't sluggish and miserable, right? So I had that talk in the car with Spirit, and I asked them for what I wanted for today. I set some intentions, and your girl's energy just came online, okay? Which was good. It was a good work day. So then I'm on my way home, and Danny and I had a doctor appointment. And I started feeling this anxiety. Oh, and I was feeling it yesterday too. And like I said, I had been really spending time with myself. So like I knew I was showing up for me. You know what I mean? Like there was no reason for me to be upset because I was holding myself. I was nurturing myself. I wasn't abandoning myself. So I know that my inner child didn't feel alone. But internally, not even internally, it was just something, I kept sensing these really dense emotions, man, like to the point where like I felt like I could cry, but it didn't feel genuine to me, For you empaths out there, I'm sure you've experienced that where like everything's fine, but like you keep getting hit with these surges of emotion, right? And like I sat with myself just to make sure, you know what I mean? Like there's not always a way to fix everything, but I can be there for myself, right? So just to make sure like my inner child didn't have something going on or like what, like I sat with myself last night and I journaled a shit ton, ended up channeling some messages, and then I just sat down and I colored. You know what I mean? Like I just got my coloring book out with my colored pencils and I colored a fucking picture. Like, but then today I woke up in the anxiety, not woke up, but like actually when I got done working, I felt that anxiety kick in again. That like anxiousness, you know? And again, I didn't have any reason for feeling that way, but I've learned that sometimes you just gotta be with it. It'll be revealed if it is yours, if it is your shadow, if it is some kind of insecurity, if you're taking on too much, if it's someone else's shit, it will be revealed if you accept it as it is. But a lot of us like to resist it because it doesn't feel good, right? Obviously, like anxiety sucks, you know what I mean? You want to do something to get out of that sensation because it isn't comfortable. But what I've trained my body to do, trained my mind, trained my emotions, is, you know, when I'm feeling something that I don't prefer, I don't run away from it, but I also, if I know that I've sat down and given myself time to go inside and figure out maybe what it is or whatever, and I still keep feeling it, and I'm not sure, I can't discern if it's someone else, if it's something else, I just don't know. All I know is that in this moment, I'm feeling anxiety, and I don't know why. That's it, that's all I knew. And I've trained myself to just be like, okay, like, that doesn't mean that I have to shut myself down. It doesn't mean that I have to pull back and retreat from everything and everyone. I've trained myself to accept myself as I am. So even when I am emotional, even when I am upset, even when I have anxiety, you know, if I make commitments or if I want to do something, you know, I don't let those things stop me, which took a long time. So anyways, that's kind of the backstory. So then Danny and I go to the doctor's office, and right before that, I checked my family Snapchat and I found out that my sister had been in the hospital for the past 2 days. No one knew, no one in the family had talked to her for days. And I looked at the Snapchat today and they said that they found her in the hospital and that she got put in the hospital because she was trying to hurt herself. And I was like, boom. I was like, that's what I was feeling. Like I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what, I didn't know who, I didn't know why, right? But I just kind of let things flow. I was like, okay, that makes sense. I feel like as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's what I was feeling, right? Just intuitively knew. But the anxiety didn't go away. So I was like, okay, well, fuck. Maybe that wasn't what it was, right? Or maybe it was. Maybe there's more. I don't know, right? I'm just going to surrender. I accept myself as I am, and I'm going to stay in my body. It's another thing I've trained myself to do is to stay in my body, which was very hard. And a lot of people don't realize just how often they start to experience something that they don't want, and then their consciousness leaves their body, you know? And it's kind of like they're on autopilot. So we're in the car on the way to the hospital, and Danny says, I got a little bit of anxiety. I was like, really? Like, I've been feeling that today. I was like, okay, so, you know, we talked about it for a little bit. And then we get into the hospital room. This is where shit gets real. No, we get into the waiting room at the hospital. And I sit down, you guys. So first off, I was taking some breaths, right? Danny said he had anxiety. I was thinking about my sister, you know. I just grabbed his hand and was holding his hand. Because you can't always say something to make someone feel better. But just like with myself, I can be there. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to fix it. Don't have any answers, but I can be there, right? So I grabbed his hand. We walk into the hospital and we sit down in the waiting room. And like I said, I had been doing some deep breaths through that sensation of anxiety. And I sit down, and all of a sudden, it reminded me of Mary Magdalene Revealed, how Megan Watterson talks about the meditation of the heart, where you dive deep within yourself and the soul rises. So the soul rises and you dive in. So they meet in the middle, right? In the heart. And she talks about the sensation where she feels like she just dives into herself. And I'm sitting there in the hospital, and all of a sudden, I just feel my energy just, boom, just anchor in so deeply into my body. It was the craziest feeling. And like, I know I've experienced it in meditation, but like, it was weird circumstances. Like, there were people around, I was in the hospital, I wasn't like really trying to do anything. It just, all of a sudden, my energy just came in and just, I felt everything go inside of me. My energy just anchoring inside. And I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden, everything around me just slows down. It was like everything went into slow-mo a little bit. Not that it looked that way, but it felt that way inside. That's what I was sensing, right? So I noticed that, and I'm like, okay, you know, and for some people that could be triggering, you know, all of a sudden you just feel this surge of energy, right? And everything starts to slow down. And I'm sitting there and I'm observing. I'm like, okay, interesting. And then all of a sudden, I get these pulses. I can feel it now. It makes me want to cry. It's so beautiful. I'm sitting there and I get this pulse of energy just boom, 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 boom. And it feels like, this is going to be weird, but it feels like if you've ever gotten morphine, when they first give you the morphine, there's this warm, tingly sensation that kind of takes over, and the body deeply relaxes when you get the morphine. It's quite pleasurable sensation. Some people don't like it, but it's very warm and tingly and relaxing and like a pleasurable feeling. And that's what I'm feeling, these pulses. Just keep coming in and out of this morphine sensation. And it felt like a psychedelic trip. It really did, y'all. I know that sounds fucking crazy, but like, I don't care. That's what happened. So again, I'm sitting there and I'm like, really intrigued, really. You know, I feel like maybe back in the day, maybe I would have like freaked out a little bit because like it was just like boom, hit me. And then I'm feeling these pulses, these surges of energy. And I step back and I'm just kind of looking around, kind of tripped out, right? Feeling the surges of energy. I'm looking around and everything. One part that did kind of weird me out is when I was sensing my environment, it felt dead. It felt fake. It felt lifeless, which was really weird. That was the first thing that popped into my head when I started to observe the environment I was in. The first thing I heard was death. I was like, I know I'm in a hospital, but like, damn, you know? So like I kind of didn't pay too much attention to that. Plus the sensation of pleasure that I was receiving was really nice. So I'm looking around. It's in slow-mo. I'm getting these pulses of energy. I started to see little colors here and there, like on the wall. These like colors were coming out. And I'm just sitting there like, Danny's talking. I'm like, I felt like I was on mushrooms. Like, it was crazy. So, anyways, after that, like, we had the appointment or whatever. She went to check my blood pressure and the machine wouldn't work. She came back, she was like, did you press something? I was like, no, I've just been sitting here. She was like, oh, well, it didn't work. It didn't read anything. I was like, okay. And that was the last moment I felt that sensation. It's kind of like I shifted realities, I guess. And then she took my blood pressure and it worked. And then I didn't feel it anymore. But once I got home, I started to get curious. I was like, Spirit, what was that? What the fuck just happened? That was some trippy shit. I was like in the middle of like a psychedelic trip in the hospital in the most random place out of nowhere. It's like, what was that? And I heard medicine. And I was like, okay, it was medicine. That those pulses that I was feeling, it was medicine, like unconditional love, right? And then I heard like sacred ground, which was interesting. And when I first heard that, I was like the hospital was sacred ground, and they were like, no, you, Brooke, you hold sacred ground. And I was like, you know, when you hear those things, like it sometimes it's hard to see yourself that way, right? Sometimes it's hard to own that. And I'm like, okay, they said medicine and sacred ground. And I was like, okay, so what was it that I was feeling? And then I saw 311, and then I saw 324, and then I saw 342. And like, I just kept seeing all these numbers as I'm meditating outside. Like, it just happened. Every time I checked my phone, it was a number. So I look it up, and they're like, I don't even remember which number it was. I was in a trance kind of while I was meditating, but also like they would tell me pick up your phone, right? And I looked up one of the numbers, and it said that whatever you put out, you will be reflected back to you. And my ego is so uncomfortable with me saying this. I guess that's like kind of like a self-worth thing, but ego ain't got time for that. But basically what they said, and I'm telling you guys this for a reason, because you hold something very similar to what Brooke is describing right now, okay? So they tell me sacred ground and medicine, and I'm thinking that I was picking up on something outside of me in energy. No, when I sat down and they said sacred medicine and sacred ground, and they told me that I was that sacred ground, I realized, oh, I was feeling my energy in that moment. I had stepped into a container, an environment that was dead, that was lifeless, that was suffering, and my healing abilities, or just my frequency itself, just turned on. And that pleasure I was feeling, that pulsating sensation that was just booming, just kept coming in, and then boom, it would come in, and then boom. And I don't know, it was just a really beautiful experience to experience myself that way, right? And I find that I'm not the only one, that other light workers, they find it difficult to really own how powerful, how healing their energy is. And it was just a really beautiful gift to walk in there, and all of a sudden my energy just turns on. And because of all the training, all the practice I've done in trusting myself and staying in my body and breathing through uncomfortable sensations, I was able to, if you can imagine the grid at that place, it was like corroded. And dying, and like if you could imagine like a dying tree, it was just falling, and the leaves were like rusted and breaking down, and there was gunk and blackness, right? And I just walked in there. And you know what's funny? I was supposed to have a doctor's appointment. I didn't. I didn't even have an appointment. It was like it was just meant to be that I showed up at that time when whatever grid that place is sitting on was suffering, and I got to show up there, and I got to bring that medicine. I got to bring that love. And I think the most beautiful part is the fact that I used to be an addict, and I used to do pain pills and that sensation. I was always seeking that pleasure. And to go from that, from needing something outside of myself to give me that euphoric feeling, going from that to literally being the walking representation of this medicine, of this sacred ground, of this healing, of this love, of this pleasure. It's such an honor, you know what I mean? And there's so many of you out there that have the same capacity, that hold the same energy, and we need you to own it. Own it, okay? But I just wanted to share that with you guys. And if you have any comments, if anything comes through while you're listening to this, please feel free to share. But yeah, you are the medicine. You are the love. You are the sacred ground. It is not outside of you. It comes from within you. And the more that you practice anchoring that in, the more that you practice applying it to your life, the more that you practice owning it, seeing your worth, feeling your own energy, and how it ripples out and heals everything around you, you get to really step into a deeper level of service, of sovereignty, of discovery of yourself and what you're capable of. And there's freedom in that. There's freedom in being able to sit here and say, I got some badass fucking energy. No matter where I am, no matter what's going on, I have loved myself enough that I don't abandon myself anymore. That I don't beat myself up trying to figure out what's wrong. I just accept myself as I am, and then I flow. But if I keep trying to figure shit out, if I keep trying to beat myself up because what's wrong with me? What do I need to fix? That's something that I always hear from people, and I was the same way. They're frustrated, they're upset, they have anxiety, they're feeling numb, they're doing things that they don't really want to do, they're feeling unfulfilled, they're feeling in lack, in victim mentality, and they're like, well, what do I need to do to fix myself? How do I fix it? You are the medicine, okay? You are the sacred ground. You don't need to be fixed. A lot of the healing, you guys, is just an acceptance. Accepting what is before you without accepting it as your ultimate truth. I'm feeling anxiety. Does that mean that I am my anxiety? Does that mean that I have to become it? I am not satisfied with my current circumstances. Does that mean that I am any less valuable or not where I want to be? Does that mean that I'm a fuck up? Right? So just remember that when that anxiety creeps in, when that restlessness creeps in, when you don't know why you're feeling how you're feeling, you don't know whose it is, you don't know what's going on, just stay in the body. Just stay in your body. Maybe take some deep breaths. Don't let it shut you down. And Spirit just said to me, Brooke, do you remember what we told you about expansion? How do you expand, Brooke? How do you evolve your consciousness? How do you reach outside of your vibrational set point and raise it? And I was like, I don't know. They were like, how do you feel? I was like, I feel contracted. I feel like contracted, resistant, stuck. And they just reminded me right before in the hospital, right before that happened, I was feeling the anxiety and I started to observe myself. And I was sitting with my legs crossed and like, I was sitting like this. And I started to observe my body language. I was like, okay, she's not feeling very comfortable. So then I took my hands, I wrapped them around my body and I just squeezed. And I just held myself really tight, sitting in the chair. No one could really see what I was doing. And I just wrapped my arms around my body and I just squeezed. I contracted and held myself. And Spirit said, how do you expand from a contracted state? It took me a minute. It took me about a week. They asked me that question. It took me about a week to come up with an answer. But that's the most powerful times. If you think about a woman giving birth, what happens? A contraction happens. Ooh, I just remembered something. Maybe it's in here. I don't know though. I got a bunch of books. I remember I asked this question and I wrote down the answer. Let's see if I have it in this book. See a lot of twin flame shit up in here. Ooh, here it is. I can't make this shit up, y'all. I can't make this shit up. How do you expand from a contracted state? Let's see what I put. Well, this is what I got from Spirit. Acceptance of the present moment. Think of a woman in labor. Sure, there are things she can do to ease the contractions, like breath work or laying on her side, sitting in warm water. However, to prevail through her contractions, there is a level of surrender established. Even the simple thought to breathe or to get in the tub is a reflection of her acceptance. She could choose to resist the contractions and paralyze herself in the pain, or she can honor and accept her contracted state and do things to nurture herself and her body. The soon-to-be mother must also understand and embrace the harsh truth that even with these nurturing tools, that does not mean the pain of the contractions are diminished. So she integrates into a deeper level of surrender and a deeper level of acceptance. And that is a really good key, you guys. When you're feeling anxious, when you are overwhelmed with emotion, just say to yourself, I accept and embrace myself as I am in this moment. I move out of my head that tells me that I need to be fixed, that I'm unworthy, that I'm too much, that I'm too emotional, that I need to hide how I'm feeling, that I can't do this, that I can't say that people aren't going to accept me. But that's what a lot of us do. We start to feel uncertain, we start to feel anxiety, we start to not feel good, and we retreat from other people because we don't want people to see us that way. We feel like they're not going to accept us. They're not going to embrace us. We don't want to be a burden. But really, that is a reflection of how we are treating ourselves. So if there's anything that you take from this, it is own your power. You are so strong. You are so powerful. Your energy is so healing. And the more that you own it, the more that you speak it, the more that you express it, the more mastery you obtain to accessing these gifts, to accessing these energies at will, right? So for me, when it came to stuff like this, I would practice saying, I accept myself as I am in this moment. I surrender my mind. I embrace what I am feeling. I am staying in my body. I will not abandon myself. And it took over and 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 over again. I would say those things and my body didn't listen. I would invoke those things and I still did something different. I would set those intentions and I would still go back into my cycled way of being. I would allow my ego to protect me with its coping mechanisms, with its coping behaviors, with its ideas of self-sabotage. But then, as I just continued to act, to apply it, to practice it, to believe in it, to trust in it, it got to a point where instead of it being so challenging to be in the uncomfortable, unpleasurable sensations, it got to a point where I could just be like, not right now. Because my body knows I'm going to come back and nurture it. Like if I need to go work with a client, I got shit going on, I can pick up that shit and I can just put it on the shelf for a minute. And I can say, not right now. But back in the day, that didn't work. I could want to take that shit and put it to the side so bad, but it just didn't work. Because I had to really develop a deeper sense of accepting myself as I was, of embracing myself as I was. You know, not shutting myself down. And now I'm to the point where there is a level of mastery there where if something is persisting me, it doesn't have to devour me. You know, the anxiety can be there, but I don't have to become it. The sensations of frustration can be there, but I don't have to act on them. I don't have to take them on. I don't have to take them personally. The confusion, the uncertainty for what I'm feeling can be there, but I don't have to fixate on it to figure it out. I get to flow. So what does that mean? That means I can be in a contracted state and I can still expand my energy, which is really, really helpful. I wish I could describe it better. But anyways, I got a bug bite, okay. So if these are things that you struggle with, anxiety, overwhelm, emotions, setting intentions, but then not being able to follow through because there's some level of self-sabotage, maybe you don't have a practice. You don't know how to apply it, right? All these ideas sound wonderful, but has anyone ever shown you how to apply it in your life? The steps, what it looks like, how it feels. You know, and if that is something that you're interested in, that is what we do, Danny and I, okay? And I had a few people reach out about coaching. We are going to do the mentorship again, but we're still restructuring. So for now, just keep that in mind. I'll let you guys know when we release the mentorship again. But for now, own your power, accept yourself as you are. You don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to react to the unpleasurable sensations. You can become the conscious observer of all those things. And you know what that does? When you can step into your divine feminine energy in the middle of a contraction and you can surrender and you can accept, it creates a sacred container around you. It creates a veil of medicine around you where whatever you're sensing, if it isn't yours, it can't attach to your energy. It can no longer drain you. It can no longer steal your life force energy. It can no longer influence you. But you have to make the choice to put the boundary in place that even when I'm in a contracted state, I accept myself. I expand my energy instead of hermiting in and just sitting in that suffering, right? That's what a lot of people do. They feel uncomfortable, they go into hermit mode and they sit in that suffering. But when you can be in that contracted state and you can acknowledge it and you can just hug yourself for a minute, squeeze yourself tight, and then boom, your energy, I'm telling you, when you try this, let me know. Next time you're in that contracted state, and you acknowledge it, maybe give yourself a hug real tight. You contract real hard, and then watch how your energy expands from that contracted state. Watch what it births. Watch how it feels. It's an amazing experience. But anyways, I'm going to stop there because I've been ranting and ranting for too long. I love you guys. I hope this was helpful in some way. But I will see you soon. Empress of Duality, out.